I'll answer that one. 5,000 words. Basic structure of an essay is you have a question, you're going to answer it because you know something about what it is. So you've got your introduction. Your introduction tells the person, I'm going to give you a meal. There is your menu. You will have X, Y, and Z. I'm going to talk about X, Y, and Z. All right? So you have your introduction. You tell them why it's interesting to you to talk about this, or the importance of the reason why you do, whatever the case may be. And then you chronologically go through what you're going to talk about. You use the Harvard referencing system. Therefore, you don't just barbershop it. You support it with references from reputable sources. Yeah, you know what I mean? And there's a way that you cite your references and so forth. So you don't just say, oh, blah, blah, blah. That's an opinion. It's not really an opinion if certain people have said this before. And it's been quoted and accepted before. And you can cite date, place, time. Right? It's a phenomena that's been discussed. Okay? This is nothing new that I'm saying. Great people have said it, or what you would consider great people. So you've got your introduction about what you're going to say, and then you start to talk about what you're going to say. Right? What you said. And that's your meat of your subject. And you take that anywhere you wish to go. Okay? And the better your sources, your grammar, the better your spelling, the less of the typos. Stick within the word limit, 5,000 words. Or if you want to do more, 5,000, no more than 5,500. Especially if your university doesn't like you or what you're talking about. Okay? Because you're only got to be one word over, and they want to come down and scrutinize and act like they see 100 words over. So, and then you have your conclusion. And your conclusion can be recommendations of what you think. It can be a projection of what's going to happen. It can be a solution, an idea for a solution, or whatever the case may be. But your conclusion is either you agree or I disagree, and and then you recap. I spoke about A, B, and C. I told you I was going to speak about it. I mentioned blah, blah, blah. And so therefore my conclusion is, and there's your essay. Ta-da! Do you know what I mean? Well, I've done all that. But again, in the left wing, if they don't like, you won't agree with promoting lies. Right? Spiritually, I don't do lies. You know what I mean? Just can't do it. You know what I mean? So I have to work very, very hard. And I have, in the past, cited passages from the Bible. I have... You see, if you were to read who's an academic, I suppose, for the left it would be Plato. For me, it's Aristotle, right? Or if I want to be Confucius, I've got Confucius over there, right? They don't double talk. You know, like the white man speak with forked tongue, saying one thing but meaning another. The left have developed a double speak, because what they're doing is lying. They want to lie, but they want to leave a catch clause to say, well, that's not what we're saying, though. You know what I mean? But that's not what we're saying, though. So you have to read them very, very carefully to know exactly what they're doing. It's a double speak, and it's very deceitful. And you know, Yeshua said, "Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay." Be clear about what you say. You know what I mean? And so I think it's academic. I listen. I read a lot. I read Kant, John Locke, Bacon, and they've all got their flair and their styles and stuff. But they're telling you something, and they're only using the poetics and skill of the English language. Otherwise, they're clearing the message. And if you don't read that much, then you won't understand what good poetics is or bad prose or whatever. You know what I mean? And I'm not great at it, but I've been told I write poetic. Okay. It's very poetic. Whatever. So, I'm astounded that I'm getting these failed, but I'm like, I know what this is about. So what do? Well, I took a reset. Better Perfect. No problem. Got the fail back. I'm like, nah, you're now you take the piss. So I am advised to ask for to complain, right? And the way that you put your complaint in, I downloaded the student complaint procedure and the grounds in which I have to argue my case about why I think I've been wrongly graded and to have it reassessed, right? Now, there's something in this, you know, this is not my first rodeo. So I kind of, you know, reluctantly, you know, I'm going down this avenue. And I'm going down this avenue because the left has got university sewed up. And when you try to talk to an MP or a minister, you know, they're so far up their backside, they just don't get it. They hate the left, but when I'm telling you, it's going on over here. Look at this. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know, I've done it to two. I've written to three. One was an education minister. I don't do university. And I wrote to Sam Guillermo. And that idiot wrote me back. They always get a functionary to write you back. And I'm like, why are you, you know, engaging in this ignorantio elenchi? Did you not hear what I said? If you're not sure, say you're not sure. But don't argue something else and tell me blah this and blah that. That's not what I'm talking about. And you don't know how serious it's going over here, mate. Come on, we can catch him. We can get him. So this is the state when you got the Tories in. The Tories are about themselves and they're not focused on, one, they don't focus on the young. So they'll lose the whole generation of the young because they're stupid, right? They're too up with the Rothschilds and quaffing it and money and jumping from one party to the other party because they don't like Brexit. Well, we know you don't. I mean, another thing you got to do with people is check out who they are, who they work for. Who did the MP work for? Were they working? What do they think? What was their position on X, Y, and Z? Did they vote for the Iraq War? Were they around? And all that stuff. You got to look at them, find out who they are. That will answer the reasons why they're there but not doing their job. Anyway, so there is a portion in the student's complaint, and it says, the panel and the chair will not consider arguments relating to grades where you disagree with an academic decision, right? So basically, if your professor says, oh, you failed, they're not going to argue, you know, tough luck. We're not talking about that. You know what I mean? We're going with procedure. You know, the professor has a right. He knows more than you. Lots of you students are going to be disappointed, you know, because you failed, right? Should have worked harder. You know what I mean? That's the overall argument. And so a lot of these left-wing professors, they know they can bully students. And as I told you before, there's a higher rates, concerning rates, that is being reported of student suicides, right? Well, it would happen if you raise your child from knee high about what's right, what's true, what's solid and the absolutes, only to reach the university where everything riding on mummy's money and daddy's money and investment in you, and everything were told, they're tearing it down. And if you don't join it, you're ostracized by other people who are going along with it, and then you start to question your sanity because I thought it's a serious matter. So the left, I believe, are driving students to these desperate positions. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the text in there. So they're not going to question anything, and it emboldens the lecturers, especially the female, to bully. Literally be racist and bully. And you best toe the line or whatever. Well, what did I do? What I always do. I may be a rubbish reader aloud to you, but I certainly can read and do read quite a lot. And I checked that text out. And I said, et voila. They've misread it. Now, they're professional PhDs, and I'm telling you, oh, look, there he goes again. He really thinks he's all that, doesn't he? He thinks he's so bloody clever. Oh, my God, this is his problem. You can tell he just thinks he knows it all. He does. Black people. It's always them black men. Shut up and listen. When I put a full stop on it, then you may comment, okay? The problem with, it was like, sometimes I have to connect with the higher one after I've cussed him out, and then I prayed and apologised and said I'm grateful for having a flat, and I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity when there was none to go for the masters, etc. Not grateful about the debt, but there you go. You never know what it is. I humble myself before you, and then sometimes something comes and says, "Hey, I was waiting for you to wake up. Look at this again." And I'm like, wow, it's in the text. Now, they know students are lazy, so they're not going to read that. And most are going to be, browbeaten into changing their opinions, so they're not even going to look at the students' complaint procedure. And even if they do, they're not going to read it right because they're not being taught right. But I looked at it and it says, we're not going to consider issues to do with academic judgment, blah, 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 if it's properly been done, right? I.e., if the module or whatever the case may be has been properly done. We will not interfere if it's properly done. We're not going to consider if it's properly done. Properly done. I bolded it and put it there, and I cut it out, and I've sent them, and I said, listen, I'm giving you a crash course on what critical race theory is. I'll give you his 2 seminal books, and I'll give you a published essay. The 2 seminal books, We Are Not Saved. The second one, Faces at the Bottom of the Well. And the essay I gave was Who's Afraid of Critical Race Theory by Professor Derek Bell. If you want to know anything about critical race theory, who it pertains to, what it's about, and what the unfinished business is about, you can't go no further than that. Yet the professor she's ignored him. She's gone for everybody else. I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. You go for everybody else. Yeah, you mention a black female, but you're going for Latino writers and this and that. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. It's clear what critical race theory is about. It's about ADOS. It's not about people who come in on Ellis Island. It's not about Chicanos, Latinos, or Hispanics. And the problems they face in schools and the racism. It's got nothing to do. That's not critical race theory. There was a white professor, David Gilbourne, and myself. We come to the same conclusion. You cannot be using critical race theory, and then when we open it up, you're talking about something else. There are spin-offs. And critical race theory comes from, the whole thing comes from critical theory. And from critical theory, critical legal studies. From critical legal studies, critical race theory. From critical race theory, you've got FemCrit, Lat crit, Hispanic crit, all kind of crit going on. So it should have its own label for what it's talking about. Do not borrow and do not relegate, because that's racist. So that's what I did with these people. I gave them a crash course and 30 working days. I knew the weekends. I said, let them have their weekend, 30 working days. You better understand, if it says we will not consider if properly done, you need to know if it was properly done. I'm saying it wasn't. That's the whole point of us being here. I know about critical race theory, she doesn't. In order for you to know and agree with me, then you have to have that crash course. But you cannot say, I ain't going to do it, because if it's not properly done, then you got that job to have to read what I said. And I think that the Belgrano, you know what I mean? I sink the Titanic. It's all over for them on that front. The other thing is, there's other issues as well. It's to do with they know what I'm about, and they're trying to, they're supposed to give you your feedback in a timely manner, didn't give me my feedback in a timely manner, and therefore, if they don't give me my feedback in a timely manner, it means I miss out the time when I can complain about my marks. And so if the time has elapsed, I can't complain. That was all strategic, because they know I was good and they don't want to give me the mark. Because it's no wonder people of my Q, that there's very few of us in the primary schools, very few of us, because we're being chopped at university, and that's where it is. So on the 27th, 30 days are up, I sent an email. They wrote back to me the very same day, and on it is the 27th. So I'm like, you're trying to tell me that the 30 days, that's when you actually had cut. So I read it, And even the text where I've highlighted it, they've just ignored it. They say, I'm like, you're having a laugh, right? You're having a laugh because anybody with an O level C in English language could understand what that means. It means students can challenge an academic decision. Now, I even, in my complaint, explained what an academic decision is. Because an academic decision is one thing, but it has to be qualified. And once it's qualified, you know, you can challenge an academic judgment, because they use the word judgment as well. So what's an academic decision? Academics make decisions every day. On the way to work, should I drive this way? Should I drive that way? At lunchtime, should I have the nice chicken soup, or should I have a salad roll? Academics make decisions all the time. But an academic making an academic decision, then you have to look at the grading system. What constitutes A, B, C, D, E, right? And essay. And in my view, if you're going to give an academic judgment, those are the disciplines you work by. So therefore, if they are a grade D, for argument, says no colloquialism, and there's colloquialisms in my essay, you cite that's where that is. There it is there. If there's too much typos, that's where that is indeed. That's where there. If it's about overwriting, over 500, you've got 700 words down there, or 7,000 words down there, it's there. If you use too much colloquialisms, it's there. It's a descriptor. But if you're teaching, part of your grading of somebody's work is still teaching. Because that student will learn from that and they'll resit it and take all those lessons in mind, and their work should improve and better understanding. You're referencing, you didn't reference anything. You've made opinions, but there is no reference to support that opinion. There is, that's grade D. Oh, in 2 points, you were quite good. That's grade C. But 2 points against 8 wrong points constitutes grade D. Not good. Fail. Okay? Didn't do that. All I got in my essay were these barbed comments and nonsense. And the funny thing is, I've told the panel this. So guess what happens when my university reply back? They give me a copy of the feedback, and then they've given me what constitutes an A, B, C, D, and E. So I've taught them something, but I'm like, bitch, there's no point in doing that unless you're going to do, I'll teach you. In my reply, I'll show them this is what you're supposed to be doing. That is what you're supposed to be doing as a professional academic, a PhD, a lecturer. I'm the student. You're denying me a master's. I can do this work. I can do this work. But you don't, you see, now let's get to, you see, you got people running around. I call them Pan-Africans. Now I'm going off script, right? They're Pan-Africans. Can't stand them. A load of them are COINTEL. They perpetuate too much bloody lies and things they can't prove. And they keep banging on about white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. Well, here's an argument for you. Oh, they've got the Benin bronze, they've stolen all the stuff, stole. The cave beast, there, this, there, that, oh, they own slaves, Think of every nasty thing under the sun. Oh, yeah, they're savages. So how are they supreme to you if they've got stolen wealth? If, I don't know, there's a spider in there somewhere, I'm not worried about it. There's a pile of ants somewhere, right, building a little colony somewhere. Colony. I'm not worried. Because there is nothing they can do to stop me. I'm not in fear. If they are supreme, they ain't worried about you. They will be worried if you stopped pushing that narrative. Right? Because they'll think, hey, somebody else is going to start telling them something else. You keep scaring them, keep jabbing them, keep using that. You know what I mean? And make some videos. Talk about stuff that you can't prove, but get them riled up. We want a Roots Part 2. Get them riled up. misfocus. Let them riot. You know what I mean? Let them, act at their base level. You know what I mean? But whatever you do, do not make them think for self. It's the same thing at this university. They are afraid of something. It's like kicking a blind man's stick. Why would you do that? He's got difficulty in his life. If a blind man can do real good, then let him go. We've seen what blind people can do. You've seen the Ray Charleses, the Stevie Wonders. They're very creative. And they're allowed to have their full expression. I'm not. And that destroys me. Because there's a lot of residuals that I can put out. I write fiction, short stories and stuff. There's so much I can do. But they know this. They know this. I'll tell you, this. A teacher of mine, you've got so much potential. In primary school, no, secondary school. Didn't see it myself. But people know. And I think they only have to read my writing to realise that it's just not words. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I took a lot of people's peers' writing, but I said, let me read what they're, because everybody's reading one another, and I downloaded them and I read the rubbish. And some of the books that I've got from left wingers, all they do is cite. There's no flow to it. They keep citing the same people over like the authorities. So it's really terrible. And this is what they think is like academia. And it's like their pet gods. So there'll be like Max Weber, there'll be Adorno, there'll be Gramsci, there'll be Marx, there'll be the whole bunch of that lot. That, he says and what he says and such says and I'm like, for crying out loud. You're just repeating. Okay, you understand what he said. And how applicable is it? And do you not see that Marx? I should have bought the books. I'll do one on Marx. And so I'm going to pull up on that. I'm going to go into the Marxists and the neo-Marxists at another time. Okay? So really and truly, I don't know what time I started this. I really said what date it was, but I didn't know what time I started it. And I don't really want to overstate the time, because if I start another topic, I won't be able to get into it. So I will say President Trump has touched down today. He promises not to get, I think they don't want him to get into the election stuff and stump for anybody, and so he's staying away from that. He's had to make a statement. I've got nothing to do with the NHS, because Labour keeps saying, he wants the NHS, he wants to buy the NHS. Funny that, because I was watching just prior to doing this, and the politics show, that woman, and she says to one of them Labour guys there, well, actually, the 7% that has been doled out to the privateers of the NHS was done by your government. You guys did it. I know this, because the left couldn't wait to get their hands on they wanted some money, back pocket money and stuff. So they're the first to sell it off. Yet they're, and the thing is, it's difficult to tell certain people, because there are some people that will never vote for Tory. You know what I mean? And I have never voted for a Tory. But in terms of which party is about my freedom of thought, my freedom of speech, the ability for my progeny, if Jesus can die, Yeshua can die, so that I can speak and I can see it, and we can, the yet to be conceived has a chance to redeem humanity, then it's my duty also. And so the party that stands up for your freedom, and that's what it is. We're having a fight with the bankers. The banking elite wants us trapped in a Soviet-style EU SSR. And they're demonizing Russia because Russia kicked out all those people who were the USSR, And now Russia's a free Christian country again, right? And the people have embraced it. Well, international bankers don't like Christianity, do they? They never liked it when Martin Luther, and they started murdering the people en masse until Martin Luther gave in and compromised. It's really deep, really deep. But, so anyway, Trump is over here, and, pardon me. Yes, as I was saying, he's here to talk about, I'm not quite sure, I was listening to Nick Farabi, he was talking about 70 years celebrating NATO. And I'm thinking, okay, what war did they stop? What war did they stop? And when they should have went to war, when Israel boarded the Mavi Mara and shot an American citizen on that boat in international waters, the tagline for NATO, an attack on one is an attack on all. You know, the Musketeers type, all for one, one for all. They should have bombed the crap out of Israel for that. But they didn't. So, you know, stick your NATO up your ass. You know, because all you did was invade Syria, bomb Libya, and, you know what I mean? It's a joke. Libya had no threat to you, was no threat to you. None of these countries, it's just used by the bankers, just as Wellington was used by Rothschild. And then Rothschild gets 2 armies on the day to batter Napoleon. I kid you not. So, unfortunately, people, I was going to go into why I am a young earth creationist and explain my disagreements with evolution and where I think the out of Africa, well, who created the out of Africa idea that a lot of these Pan-Africans love, but they get a shock when I tell them. So I'll end with this. And this is one of the books I got from left wing. So let me put it this way. Not everything on the right wing is good, but they have values I agree with, conservative values I agree with, right? And not everything on the left is bad. The Marxist stuff, the communist stuff, they can chuck it. It's difficult to tell people, but socialism didn't come from Marx. It came from a Welsh guy named Robert Owen. I've got a couple of these books here. And it was called The Social System. And it was needed at the height of the Industrial Revolution. It was like, the Industrial Revolution was like a freight train running over the moral character of the citizenry that were once agrarian, now becoming urbanized. And you got pollution, you got the rich getting super rich, but they are producing stuff. But there's no regulations in factories. It's really been troublesome for the poor. And Robert Owen, being a factory owner, decided to build a kind of co-op where he tried to clean up the people and give them better. His idea was it's a simple one, really. If you pay your wages and you care for your people, they work better. If you pay them a decent wage, I mean, think about it. If you pay somebody a decent wage, all your problems are solved. All your advertising and all the money that you go in there, you don't have to worry about shares and the share prices. Why? Because your workforce is going to buy a holiday from you, they're going to buy a car from you, they're going to put some money out because you're giving them enough to save. They're getting a chance to do the work, hard work, they don't mind that. But they get to work hard, play hard, relax. They can save. They can put down there for their progeny. When their children reach 18, they can buy them a little banger, a little jalopy. They can see that life goes on and we've got, you know what I mean? You give them a chance. But if you're going to be greedy, and have them working for a pittance, then you will have the pickpockets. You will have the thievery and so forth. And the way they dealt with it in the 19th century and the 18th century was terrible. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go into that, but I mean, there is an argument by Robert Carter. No, it's I'll do a discussion on the Negro question, there was a debate between John Stuart Mill. This is John Stuart Mill, and this is his book On Liberty. One of the best speeches you're going to get about your freedom of speech. I'll defend that. And it was, I keep saying Robert Carlyle, but I think Robert Carlyle is the actor. His name's something Carlyle. And Carlyle's argument was, you got people in the Caribbean who are black, they're living better than people in Ireland. Do you know what I mean? What's the big deal type of thing, right? And on both sides, you got luminaries and public intellectuals. You got people like Charles Darwin, not Charles Darwin, Charles Dickens, and